And what is the fate of the Republican agenda after yesterday's sweeping election rebuke for President Trump and his party? Let's ask Haley Barbour. He's a former chairman of the Republican National Committee and the former governor of Mississippi. He joins us now from Washington. Governor, thank you so much for joining us. Virginia was a key race yesterday. This was supposed to be a blueprint for future Republican campaigns. What went wrong here?
Well, it's a difficult state. President Trump is not popular in the state, particularly in areas of the state that generally split their vote, like the Washington suburbs. They voted very heavily for the Democrats, and the Republicans weren't able to make it up in the rest of the state. But, you know, Virginia is becoming a more Washington, D.C. oriented electorate. That electorate's growing. It's more liberal. You don't want to be a small government Republican and run in the suburbs of Washington.
Governor Barbour, let me ask you about the cohesiveness of the Republican Party at this point. Do you still think about it as one party, or as you see these fractions and see things begin to spread apart, do you worry about the long-term integrity of the grand old party?
Well, ours is a big party, and the Democrats are a big party. In the two-party system, that's the way it is. And there are lots of people that don't agree on everything. You know, I used to work for Ronald Reagan. I don't agree with Ronald Reagan on everything. Heck, my wife doesn't agree with me on everything. But that's part of the two-party system, and we have a big party. And I frankly think that the divisions philosophically in our party are quite a bit smaller than the divisions in the Democratic Party, which has undergone the biggest lurch to the left in modern political history, and it continues.
And I want to ask you about the role that President Trump is playing in these divisions. I mean, we saw Ed Gillespie maintaining a conspicuous distance from the president, and that did not go unnoticed. President Trump, in fact, tweeting that Ed Gillespie worked hard but did not embrace me or what I stand for. Don't forget, Republicans won 4 out of the 4 House seats. Of course, those are those Republican wins earlier this year. With the economy doing record numbers, we'll continue to win. How challenging will it be for GOP candidates next year trying to appeal to both Trump's base voters, but also not alienating centrist Republicans?
Well, there are large numbers of Republicans who did that in 2016. They'll be able to do that in 2018. But what really is an important thing for the Republicans, get things done. That's important for Donald Trump, too. What the American people want to see is accomplishment. They want to see tax reform that makes the economy grow faster than the minuscule 2% growth we had under the Obama administration. They want to see real growth. They want to see health care reform. They know that the Obamacare system has been a bad deal for millions and millions and millions of Americans. Yet it's cost unbelievable amounts of money. So the best thing Republicans can do is get the job done. And I think tax reform is the obvious place. Somebody asked me this morning, did I think Republicans will work harder on tax reform? And I told them. Samuel Johnson said, nothing so concentrates the mind as the sight of the gallows. So, yeah, I think our people will be working hard.
To put that in a rosier light, the president said he wants this to be a Christmas gift to the American people. If that package doesn't show up underneath the tree by the end of December, what does that mean for the Republican Party if this isn't done by the end of the calendar year?
Well, of course, everybody, all Republicans and people who know we need tax reform regardless of party, want it to get done as fast as possible. I was in the Reagan White House in 1985 and 6, the last time the country did big tax reform. It's complicated, it's contentious, and the complexities arise often because there are winners and losers. So this is not something that just gets done overnight. And unlike 1985, today, there are no Democrats who are willing to be for tax reform, whereas when President Reagan announced his tax reform package in the spring of 1984, Danny Rostenkowski, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee for the Democrats in the House, went on TV afterwards for the Democrat response and said, we're for tax reform, too. We want to see good tax reform. We don't agree with the president on everything, but we're going to work with him. And I can tell you, it was very, very many Democrats who wanted and understood the country needed tax reform, and it turned out to be a great thing for the country. great for the economy, way up into the Clinton administration.
Talking about the Democrats, 3 Democratic senators, including Joe Manchin, met with Gary Cohn, also with Mark Short yesterday. Even President Trump calling in from Seoul. Is this all about just optics, or are they really hoping to get some Democratic votes here?
Oh, I'm sure they want to try to get Democratic votes, not just on this, but on other things. Of course it's feasible. You look at someone like Joe Manchin, with whom I served as governor, and Joe Manchin's not a left-wing progressive or whatever the Socialist Party wants to call itself today. Senator Sanders called it what he thought it was, socialist, which is what he runs as. Well, Joe Manchin doesn't think like that. Joe Manchin is from a fairly conservative state, once heavily Democratic, but no more. And he is a moderate, middle-of-the-road, somebody who wants to get something done. I don't know the other two, but they certainly represent states, Indiana and North Dakota, that are not left-wing states. They're not like Washington, D.C., for that matter.
Last question here just about lobbying. Give us a dose of realism here. The chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee says he intends to do this without the interference of lobbying so much as he can. Of course, you're the founding partner of the BGR Group. You're a longtime lobbyist yourself. Are lobbyists able to make their voices known in this process? And how problematic is it to you and to others that they don't have as easy access as they might have had with other pieces of legislation?
Well, look, lobbyists are only as good as the accurate information that they deliver, that members can trust that what they're being told is accurate, and then the member can decide, well, is that the policy I want to follow, or do I want to follow some other policy? But the biggest thing for lobbyists is when they call on people, whether they're staffers, members of Congress, members of the administration, tell the truth, tell who's on the other side and why, and conduct yourself in a way that you'll be invited back because the people that you lobbied think you gave them good information that was helpful.
Governor, thank you so much for your time today. Haley Barbour, former RNC chairman and former governor of Mississippi.